MOM needed blood, but the only match was her ex, the wealthy tech CEO who abandoned her. The pediatric waiting room smelled of disinfectant and broken dreams. Plastic toys scattered across worn carpet while Ava played quietly, unaware that her grandmother might never wake up. Have you ever had to swallow your pride for something bigger than yourself? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. The blood test results lay scattered across the hospital floor as Alana stared at the man who destroyed her heart, the only person who could save her mother's life. Carter Wells stood in the doorway, 2 years older but still devastatingly familiar, while her 2-year-old daughter hid behind her legs with eyes that matched his perfectly. But the document clutched in her trembling hand revealed something more terrifying than his abandonment. A DNA match that suggested he wasn't just her ex-lover, he might be her half-brother. What would you do if the only person who could save someone you love was the same person who broke you? Have you ever had to choose between pride and survival? Between protecting your child and saving your mother? This is about more than blood types. It's about blood ties that could destroy everything. Stay with me to discover how a life-saving transfusion exposed the most dangerous family secret of all. If you've ever faced an impossible choice, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you would do. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. She had spent 2 years building walls around her heart, until the day her mother's life depended on tearing them down. Alana Rodriguez wiped down the same sticky table for the 3rd time, her black curls escaping the ponytail that hadn't been tight enough to survive the lunch rush at Murphy's Diner. The smell of grease and desperation clung to her uniform like smoke, marking her as clearly as the exhaustion in her eyes. "Mama, I'm hungry," Ava whined from the corner booth where she colored with broken crayons on napkins. 2 years old and already understanding that waiting came with being poor. "5 more minutes, baby," Alana promised, counting the tips in her apron pocket. $17. Not enough for dinner and definitely not enough for the electric bill. Notice crumpled in her purse. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Miss Rodriguez? This is Dr. Patterson at Grady Hospital. Your mother collapsed at the grocery store. You need to come immediately." The world tilted. Alana's fingers went numb, the phone nearly slipping from her grasp. 20 minutes later, she burst through the emergency room doors with Ava on her hip, both of them smelling like French fry oil and fear. "Room 314, the nurse said gently. "But first, we need to discuss her condition." The pediatric waiting room smelled of disinfectant and broken dreams. Plastic toys scattered across worn carpet while Ava played quietly, unaware that her grandmother might never wake up. "Your mother has a rare genetic blood disorder," Dr. Patterson explained, his voice careful and clinical. "Without an immediate transfusion from a genetically compatible donor, she has maybe 48 hours. The words hit like physical blows. "Rare, genetic, compatible donor. We've run her DNA against the National Registry," he continued, sliding a folder across the small table. Only one match came back. Alana opened the file with shaking hands. The name printed in bold black letters made her heart stop completely. Carter Wells, the same Carter who broke her heart 2 years ago. The cold, white tech billionaire from San Francisco who vanished from her life the moment she told him she was pregnant. The man whose baby grew inside her belly while he built his empire 3,000 miles away, never calling, never writing, never caring that he'd left her drowning in a life she couldn't afford. She could still feel the ghost of his touch on her skin, a phantom ache that 2 years hadn't erased. The way he'd whispered her name like a prayer, made promises in the dark that daylight had burned away. "Mama, who's Carter?" Ava asked, pointing at the donor paperwork with juice-stained fingers. Alana's heart stopped. She'd never mentioned his name, not once in 2 years. "Nobody, baby. Just nobody." But that was a lie. Carter Wells was the father Ava would never know, the love Alana couldn't forget, and now, impossibly, the only hope her mother had. What would you sacrifice to save someone you love? Have you ever had to swallow your pride for something bigger than yourself? Tell me in the comments. As she dialed the number she'd memorized but never called, Her phone buzzed with an incoming call. The name on the screen made her blood freeze. Carter Wells. After 2 years of silence, why was he calling now? The richest man in Silicon Valley had been searching for her for 2 years, but someone had been hiding her from him. Alana's thumb hovered over the answer button, paralyzed. Carter's name glowed on her cracked phone screen like an accusation. 2 years. 2 years of silence. And now, he calls the exact moment she needs him most? Answer it, Mama, Ava said, tugging on her sleeve. With trembling fingers, she swiped to accept. Alana. His voice traveled 3,000 miles through fiber optic cables, but it hit her like he was standing in the same room. Deep, familiar, and carrying secrets she wasn't ready to hear. Carter. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. God, I can't believe you actually answered. I've been trying to reach you for. My mother's dying. The words cut through whatever he was about to say. No time for games. No time for explanations that came 2 years too late. Silence stretched between them, filled with the mechanical hum of hospital equipment and Ava's quiet humming. What do you need? His response was immediate. No hesitation, no questions about why she was calling after all this time. Blood. You're her only genetic match. The doctors say 48 hours, maybe less. I'll be on a plane in 2 hours. Just like that. She couldn't hide the bitterness. No questions asked. Alana, I've been calling you for 2 years. Her heart stopped. That's impossible. I never got. Check your blocked messages. The phone felt heavy in her hand. Blocked messages? She never blocked anyone's number. Why would she need to? That can't be right. I would have seen. Please, just check. With shaking fingers, she navigated to her blocked messages folder, a section of her phone she'd never had reason to visit. The loading circle spun, then disappeared. Hundreds of messages appeared. Her breath caught in her throat as she scrolled through them. Texts, voicemails, emails, all from Carter. All dated over the past 2 years. I'm sorry. Please call me back. I know about the baby. I'm coming for both of you. Photos. Sonogram images with notes. Is this our daughter? Videos of him pacing in what looked like a penthouse, talking to the camera. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but I need you to know I never stopped trying to find you. The way he said her name, Alana, like a prayer he'd been practicing in private, sent electricity down her spine despite everything. Her hand shook as she kept scrolling. 2 years of desperate messages. 2 years of him searching while she believed he'd abandoned them completely. How is this possible? She whispered. Someone's been blocking me. My calls, my messages, everything. I hired investigators, Alana. I've been looking for you since the day I left San Francisco. The pediatric ward suddenly felt too small, the walls closing in as reality shifted around her. Have you ever discovered someone was keeping you from the person you needed most? Drop a broken heart if you've experienced that betrayal. As she scrolled through his blocked messages, one text made her knees weak. I love you both. I'm not giving up. Sent every single day for 734 days straight. Her hand shook as she realized the truth. Someone she trusted had been sabotaging her life. 2 years of unanswered calls, deleted messages, and intercepted emails. All because someone decided she was better off broken than loved. Maya. The name escaped Alana's lips like a curse. Her best friend since high school. The woman who'd held her hair back during morning sickness. Who'd driven her to every doctor's appointment when Carter disappeared. Who'd sworn that rich white men like him never came back for girls like them. What about Maya? Carter's voice crackled through the phone. She has access to my phone. She set up my voicemail, helped me with all the tech stuff after Ava was born. She said I needed to protect myself from you, trying to contact me. Silence stretched between them, heavy with understanding. She's been deleting everything. Alana whispered, the betrayal hitting her like a physical blow. 2 years of lies. I'm boarding the plane now, Carter said. Don't trust anyone else with this information. I'll be there in 6 hours. After hanging up, Alana stared at Ava, who was building a tower with wooden blocks someone had donated to the children's area. Her daughter, their daughter, humming contentedly while her world collapsed and rebuilt itself around her. 20 minutes later, Alana stood outside Maya's apartment door. Ava's sleeping against her shoulder. She used her spare key, the same trust that had been weaponized against her. Maya's apartment suddenly felt like a crime scene. Family photos on the mantle, now evidence of a 2-year deception that had cost Alana everything she'd wanted but been too proud to fight for. Maya emerged from the kitchen, eyes widening as she saw them. "What are you doing here? How's your mom?" "You've been deleting his messages." Maya's face went pale, then red, then determined. "I was protecting you." "From what?" "From love? From a father of my child. From being another one of his collections." Maya's voice rose, defensive and desperate. "Rich white men don't marry black girls from Atlanta. They collect them, use them, throw them away when they get bored." Alana felt Ava's stir against her shoulder, small hands curling into her jacket. "You don't get to make that choice for me. Look around, Lana." Maya gestured at her modest apartment, at the second-hand furniture and carefully patched walls. "Look at your life. You think he was coming back for this? For struggle and stretch marks and a crying baby? You stole 2 years of my daughter, knowing her father," Alana whispered, voice deadly calm. "You stole 2 years of him knowing he had a daughter." Maya's eyes filled with tears, but there was something else there. Something that looked like guilt mixed with jealousy. "I was keeping you safe." "From what?" "From getting your hopes up, from believing in fairy tales, from ending up like your mother, abandoned and broke with a baby she couldn't afford." The words hit like slaps, each one designed to wound. When does protection become control? When does friendship become betrayal? Have you ever had someone make decisions for your life without your permission? As Maya's phone buzzed on the coffee table, Alana saw the contact name that explained everything. Carter Wells, do not answer. Maya had been in direct contact with him this entire time. He walked off a private jet looking like everything she'd lost, carrying medical papers that might save her mother and destroy her world. Hartsfield-Jackson Airport buzzed with travelers, but when Carter emerged from the private terminal, time compressed to just the space between them. 2 years collapsed into 30 feet of polished floor. He'd grown a beard, silver threading through the dark hair at his temples, and the way his expensive shirt stretched across shoulders she'd once marked with her nails made her mouth go dry. But it was his eyes that undid her, still the same storm gray that had seen straight through her defenses. "Alana." He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that she could smell his cologne, distant enough to respect the space her body language demanded. "Carter." She adjusted Ava on her hip, using her daughter as both shield and reminder of everything that had changed. Then Ava did something that made both adults freeze. She reached for him. Not the shy, tentative reach of a child meeting a stranger, but the confident, expectant gesture of recognition. Like she'd been waiting for him her whole life. "Daddy," Ava said clearly, and Carter's knees nearly buckled. "Ava, no." Alana started, but Carter was already stepping forward, his expression transformed by wonder and something that looked like relief. "Hi, sweetheart," he said softly, voice breaking on the endearment. "I am Carter." "Daddy Carter," Ava replied solemnly, as if correcting him. Alana's heart hammered against her ribs. How could a 2-year-old know? How could she recognize him when she'd never seen his picture, never heard his name spoken with love instead of bitterness? The drive to Grady Hospital passed in loaded silence, Carter's presence filling her beat-up Honda like cologne and possibility. Every red light felt like an eternity. Every glance in the rearview mirror showing her Ava chattering to him like they'd known each other forever. "She looks like you," he said quietly. "She has your eyes. She has her own eyes," he replied, but they both knew it was a lie. At the hospital, as nurses drew his blood for preliminary testing, something shifted. The efficient bustle around them should have felt clinical, but instead it felt like ceremony, like destiny finally getting its way. "We need to run this again," the nurse muttered, frowning at the computer screen. "Something's not right with these genetic markers." Carter and Alana exchanged glances across the small room. Ava played with blocks between them, building towers and knocking them down with delighted squeals. "What kind of wrong?" Alana asked. "I'm not sure. The blood type matches perfectly, but there are some anomalies in the genetic compatibility screening. Nothing that would prevent the transfusion, she added quickly, but unusual enough that we need the lab to double-check. Have you ever seen a child recognize family they've never met? Is there really an invisible thread that connects blood? Share your stories below. As they waited for results, Ava fell asleep across both their laps, her small body bridging the space they'd been too careful to cross. Carter's hand rested on her back, and when his fingers accidentally brushed Alana's, the spark that jumped between them could have powered the hospital. But as the nurse returned with results, her expression had shifted from confusion to concern. "We need to speak with both of you privately," she said. "There's been an irregularity in the genetic analysis, one that requires immediate family counseling." Waiting rooms were supposed to be neutral territory, until she found herself alone with a man whose absence had shaped every day of the past 2 years. The children's ward at midnight hummed with mechanical lullabies, heart monitors and ventilators creating a rhythm that matched the electricity arcing between them across uncomfortable plastic chairs. Extended medical testing meant overnight stays. Meant Carter booking a hotel room 6 blocks away, but spending every moment here instead. Meant Ava curled up on the small couch between them, her tiny hand clutching his shirt like she'd done 1,000 times before. "She's never done that," Alana whispered, watching their daughter sleep. "Never trusted a stranger so completely. Maybe I'm not a stranger to her." The words hung heavy between them, loaded with implications neither was ready to explore. "That's impossible, is it?" Carter's voice was soft, careful. "You carried her for 9 months. Every conversation you had about me, every time you thought about me, every time you... I try not to think about you, but you did. It wasn't a question." The honesty in his voice made her chest tight. "Every day," she admitted. "I hated myself for it, but every single day." At 2 a.m., exhaustion finally won over pride. Alana's head dropped against the chair back, and Carter watched her fight sleep like it was an enemy. "I'm going to get coffee," she mumbled, pushing herself up on unsteady legs. The hospital cafeteria at night was a fluorescent wasteland, vending machines humming lonely songs to empty tables. Alana fumbled with dollar bills, her hands shaking from exhaustion and caffeine withdrawal. "Here." Carter appeared beside her, sliding a $5 bill into the machine. "You look like you're about to collapse." "I'm Fina. When's the last time you slept?" "Really slept?" She wanted to lie, but the kindness in his voice undid her. "I work nights at the diner 3 times a week. They shift the other 4. Ava doesn't sleep through the night yet, and Mom needs help with her medications and the bills." Her voice cracked. 2 years of holding everything together, and his simple question had found the fracture line. "You don't have to do this alone anymore." "Yes, I do." The words came out fiercer than she intended. "I've been doing it alone for 2 years. I'm good at alone. That's not living, Alana. That's surviving." The coffee machine beeped, but neither of them moved to retrieve the cup. They stood too close in the empty cafeteria, close enough that she could see the exhaustion in his eyes that matched her own, close enough that when he lifted his hand to brush a tear from her cheek, she didn't pull away. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for all of it. For not trying harder to find you. For letting someone keep us apart. For every night you stayed awake worrying alone." The kiss happened like gravity, inevitable, necessary, and completely wrong. His lips found hers in the harsh fluorescent light, and for 30 seconds, the world made sense again. Then reality crashed back. "We can't," she breathed against his mouth, even as her hands fisted in his shirt. "I know, but neither of them stepped back." How do you resist someone who fits perfectly in all the broken places they created? Have you ever been angry at someone for leaving, but angrier at yourself for still wanting them back? At 2 a.m., a lab technician approached their table with results that made her face pale. "I need to speak with both of you privately," she said. "There's been an irregularity in the genetic analysis, one that requires immediate family counseling. Some secrets are buried so deep they require a medical emergency to unearth them, and some truths are more dangerous than the lies that hid them." The genetic counselor's office felt like a confessional booth, harsh lights overhead while family trees drawn on white boards threatened to collapse generations of carefully constructed lies. Dr. Sarah Chun spread DNA charts across her desk like tarot cards predicting doom. "These results are unusual," she began, her professional calm barely masking concern. "Mr. Wells, your genetic markers show potential familial overlap with Ms. Davis's family line." Alana's world tilted. "What does that mean?" "It means you might be related, possibly half-siblings." The words hit like physical blows. Carter's face went white, his hand reaching across the table toward Alana before stopping midair, as if touching her might confirm their worst fears. "That's impossible," Alana whispered. "My father left when I was 3. We don't know anything about him." "And your biological parents, Mr. Wells?" "I was adopted. Records are sealed." Carter's voice sounded hollow, like it was coming from underwater. Dr. Chun pulled out additional charts. "We need complete family medical histories. If there's a blood relationship, it affects both the transfusion safety and..." She glanced toward the door, where Ava slept in the waiting room. "Other considerations. If they were related, what did that make Ava? What did that make the love that created her?" The silence stretched like a hell breath. Alana stared at Carter across the table, searching his face for signs she'd missed. Were his eyes too familiar? His smile too much like home? Had her heart recognized family instead of soulmate? "We need to contact the court about your adoption records," Dr. Chin continued. "This is a medical emergency. They might unseal." "No," Carter stood abruptly. "I'll handle it. I have lawyers." "Carter," Alana started. "Money opens doors that stay locked for everyone else." His voice carried bitter experience. "Give me 24 hours. As they left the office, neither could look directly at each other. The kiss they'd shared in the hallway now felt like evidence of something forbidden, dangerous. Carter carried sleeping Ava to the car, and even that simple act felt loaded with new meaning. The drive back to Alana's apartment passed in suffocating silence. When Carter pulled up to her building, he didn't turn off the engine. "I'll call when I know something," he said quietly. "And if we're..." She couldn't finish the sentence. "Then we figure out how to save your mother without destroying ourselves." But as he drove away, Alana couldn't shake the feeling that some knowledge, once gained, changed everything forever. She thought about the way Ava had run to him, the instant recognition, the comfort they'd found in each other's arms. What would you do if DNA testing revealed your greatest love might be your greatest sin? How do you process when science challenges everything you believed about your family? Share your thoughts below, because this was only the beginning of the secrets about to surface. As she climbed the stairs to her apartment, her phone rang. The caller ID showed her mother's number. Impossible, since she'd been unconscious for days. When she answered, a weak voice whispered, "Baby, I need to tell you about your father before it's too late." Deathbed confessions have a way of making the impossible suddenly, terrifyingly possible. Room 314 smelled of impending death and old secrets. Machines beeping rhythms of borrowed time, while 3 generations of women faced truths that had been festering for decades. Alana's mother looked fragile as ancient paper, but her eyes burned with the urgency of dying people who still had stories to tell. "Mama, you need to rest," Alana whispered, squeezing her hand. "No time." Her mother's voice came out like autumn leaves, dry, brittle, ready to blow away. "Should have told you years ago. About your father." Ava played quietly in the corner, building towers with blocks Carter had bought from the gift shop. She hummed to herself, unaware that family history was about to explode around her. "I know he left when I was little. You don't have to." "Didn't leave." Her mother's grip tightened with surprising strength. "Was never supposed to stay." The heart monitor picked up speed, matching the rhythm of secrets finally demanding air. "He was married, baby. Rich family. White family. I was just the help." Alana's chest constricted. "Mama." Harrison Wells. The name fell between them like a stone in still water, creating ripples that would drown everything in their wake. That was his name, Harrison Wells. The room spun. Carter had mentioned his adoptive father's name was Harrison, but Wells was a common name. It had to be coincidence. "Please let it be coincidence. He paid me to disappear." Her mother continued, each word costing her precious breath. $20,000 to vanish. Never contact him. Never tell you. What did he look like? Alana's voice came out strangled. Tall, dark hair, eyes like honey. Her mother's gaze found Ava, still playing peacefully. Eyes like that baby's got. The world collapsed. Harrison Wells, Carter's adoptive father. Ava's honey-colored eyes. The genetic markers that suggested family connections. But baby, listen. Her mother struggled to sit up, machines protesting. Before I took his money, before I signed papers saying I'd never contact him, I did something. What? Took pictures, letters, kept everything in case you ever needed proof. Her breathing became labored, words coming in gasps. Safety deposit box. First National Bank. Keys taped under the kitchen sink. Alana's hands shook as she processed the implications. If her father was Harrison Wells and Harrison had adopted Carter, then they really were family, brothers and sisters. The love that created Ava was wrong, forbidden, a sin that innocent genetics had exposed. Mama, does this mean Carter and I are? No. The word came out fierce, desperate. Listen to me, baby. That man, Harrison, he couldn't have children. Doctor told him years before he met me. Something about being sterile from childhood illness. The machines started beeping faster. Nurses rushed in as her mother's vital signs spiked. The safety deposit box, she gasped, grabbing Alana's hand with dying strength. Photos, letters, proof he's not. The words died with her. The heart monitor went flat, a long, endless tone that meant everything and nothing. Have you ever learned something about your family that changed everything you thought you knew about yourself? How do you rebuild identity after revelation? Tell me in the comments. Because what Alana found in that safety deposit box would either damn them or set them free. As her mother's heart monitor flatlined, she grabbed Alana's hand with surprising strength. The safety deposit box, she gasped. Keys taped under the kitchen sink. Photos, letters, proof he's not. The words died with her, leaving Carter and Alana staring at each other across her still body, wondering if they were siblings, lovers, or something more complicated than either. With her mother dead and secrets buried in a safety deposit box, they had 24 hours to discover if their love was salvation or damnation. The bank vault echoed with their footsteps, safety deposit boxes lining walls like metal coffins holding buried secrets, and one small box that held the power to either damn them or set them free. Alana's hands trembled as she turned the key. Box 247 opened with a soft click that sounded like Judgment Day. Inside, photographs, letters, medical records, and a truth that would change everything. The first photo showed her mother, young and beautiful, standing next to a tall man with dark hair and familiar eyes. But not Carter's eyes, not Ava's eyes. These eyes were cold, calculating, completely different from the warm amber that had captivated Alana. That's not Harrison Wells, Carter said quietly, studying the photo. That's my father's business partner, Richard Davis. Davis, Alana's maiden name. So this man is your real father, not Harrison. Carter's voice held barely contained relief. Which means we're not related. The letters confirmed it. Love notes between Richard Davis and Alana's mother. Promises to leave his wife that never came true. Medical records showing his fertility tests. All normal, all proving he could father children. But the most damning evidence was Harrison Wells's medical file, stolen from his private doctor's office. The diagnosis was clear. Sterile since age 12 due to childhood cancer treatments. He could never have biological children. Harrison lied to protect his friend. Carter realized, pieces falling into place. When your mother got pregnant, he probably covered for Richard, made it look like he was the father to protect his business partner's marriage. Relief flooded through Alana like cool water after years of thirst. They weren't siblings. Ava wasn't the product of some forbidden relationship. Love was love, not genetics gone wrong. Carter pulled her against him in the sterile bank vault, holding her like she might disappear again. We're not related, he whispered against her hair. We can do this. We can be a family. But as they gathered the evidence, another document caught Alana's attention. Harrison Wells's adoption papers for Carter, with a note attached. Subject shows unusual attachment to Davis family. Monitor closely. He knew, she breathed. Harrison knew about my mother, knew about me. He's been watching us. That explains Maya, Carter said grimly. She mentioned Harrison contacted her family years ago, offered them money for information about you. The conspiracy went deeper than blocked phone calls. Harrison had been actively working to keep them apart, using Maya as his inside source, manipulating their lives from a distance. We're not siblings, Carter breathed against her neck as they stood surrounded by evidence in the bank vault. But that doesn't erase 2 years of damage. Have you ever had relief and heartbreak hit you at the same time? When good news comes wrapped in grief, how do you process both emotions? Share your thoughts below, because their celebration was about to be interrupted by news that would test their newfound freedom. As they left the bank with proof of their innocence, Carter's phone buzzed with a message from his lawyer. Harrison wants to meet. Says he has information about the girl. Coming to Atlanta tomorrow. The man who'd raised Carter was about to enter their story, and he knew more than he'd ever admitted. Some men adopt children to save them, others to hide them. Harrison Wells was about to reveal which kind of father he'd been. Harrison Wells entered the funeral home like he owned it. Expensive suit and silver hair commanding respect he hadn't earned, while mourners stepped aside for power they could feel but couldn't name. He looked exactly like the man in the photos. Older, grayer, but with the same cold calculation that had convinced a young woman to disappear with $20,000 and a lifetime of silence. Alana. He said her name like he was testing how it felt in his mouth. You look just like your mother did at that age. You have no right to be here. Her voice stayed steady despite the fury building in her chest. I have every right. I paid for your existence. His smile was winter cold. Without my money, your mother would have been homeless. You never would have been born. Carter stepped between them, jaw tight with barely controlled anger. Harrison, what are you doing here? Protecting our family name. Harrison's gaze swept over Ava, who clung to Alana's dress, sensing danger she couldn't understand. Though I see I'm too late for that. She's my daughter, Carter said firmly. She's a mistake that needs to be managed. Harrison pulled out his phone, showing them a TMZ headline. Tech billionaire's secret baby mama exposed. The story breaks tomorrow unless we control the narrative. The funeral home suddenly felt like a trap. Other mourners glanced their way, some already taking photos with their phones. Money and scandal always drew an audience. What do you want? Alana asked. Simple. Carter comes home to San Francisco. You take a settlement, generous of course, and raise the child quietly. Everyone wins. No. Carter's voice carried steel. I'm not leaving them again. Even when staying destroys everything you've worked for? Harrison showed them another phone screen. Stock prices for Carter's company, already dropping based on speculation and rumor. Your board of directors is meeting tomorrow. They're not happy about their CEO's personal complications. Alana watched Carter's face, seeing the war between love and duty playing out in real time. This was what she'd always feared, that eventually his world would demand he choose between her and everything else. I don't care about the money, Carter said finally, but you care about your employees. Thousands of people who depend on your company for their livelihoods. Harrison's voice turned persuasive, practiced. Think about them before you throw away everything for a diner waitress and her child. The words hit like physical slaps. Diner waitress. Her child. As if Ava wasn't Carter's daughter. As if their love was just some rich man's midlife crisis. Get out, Alana said quietly. Get out before I call security. I'm trying to save you from heartbreak, dear. Men like Carter don't marry women like you. They play house until reality calls them home. When powerful people try to control your love life, how do you fight back? Have you ever had to choose between family approval and personal happiness? Tell me in the comments. Because Harrison's manipulation was about to take a darker turn. As Harrison left, he dropped an envelope on the table. Inside were adoption papers, not Carter's, but documents showing Maya was also adopted by Harrison Wells. The man who'd been paying her to separate them was her biological father. The friend who'd been protecting her from love was actually the sister who'd been protecting their father from scandal. Maya's apartment felt like a stage set for a tragedy. Family photos, now evidence of the elaborate performance she'd been giving for years while directing everyone else's lives from the shadows. "You're my sister." The words came out flat, emotionless. Alana held the adoption papers like evidence in a murder trial. "All this time, you were my sister, and you kept me from happiness because you were ashamed of me." Maya sat on her couch, expensive leather that suddenly made sense in context, and didn't deny it. Her face looked older somehow, as if maintaining lies for years had aged her prematurely. "Half-sister," she corrected quietly. "Same father, different mothers. Harrison's your biological father. Was, until he gave me away to preserve his marriage. Then adopted me back when his wife couldn't have children." Maya's laugh held no humor. "I was practice for Carter, the rehearsal child before the real son came along. Ava played with blocks in the corner, building towers and knocking them down, completely unaware that family trees were collapsing around her. So you knew, when Carter and I got together, you knew we weren't actually related." "I knew." Maya's voice broke slightly. "But I also knew Harrison would destroy you both if the relationship continued. The way he destroyed my mother when she tried to contact me. That wasn't your choice to make, wasn't it?" Maya stood, moving to the window that overlooked downtown Atlanta. "You want to know what Harrison Wells does to women who inconvenience him? He ruins them. Completely. My mother ended up homeless, addicted, dead by 40. Your mother got lucky. She took his money and ran. The truth was ugly, complicated, painted in shades of gray instead of the black and white Alana had wanted. I was protecting you from becoming like our mothers. Secrets hidden away, paid to disappear. You made me a secret instead." Alana's voice carried 2 years of pain. "You made my daughter grow up without her father because you decided I wasn't strong enough to fight for my own happiness." Maya turned from the window, tears streaming down her face. "I thought if I kept you apart long enough, he'd move on. Find someone appropriate. Someone Harrison would approve of. Someone like you?" The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Maya's face crumpled, confirming what Alana had suspected. "I loved him first," Maya whispered. "Before he met you. I thought maybe, if you were out of the picture, you thought he'd choose his adoptive sister over the mother of his child. I thought he'd choose someone who could fit into his world without causing scandal. How do you forgive someone who hurt you while believing they were helping you? Is protection without permission another form of control? Share your thoughts in the comments, because Maya was about to reveal one final secret that would shatter everything they thought they knew. As Maya broke down crying, she revealed one final truth. There's something else. Something about Ava's blood work. The genetic markers, they don't match Carter's. At all. The words hit like ice water. If Ava wasn't Carter's daughter, then everything they built their reunion on was a lie. The child who'd been proof of their love might be evidence of betrayal instead. The pediatric lab felt like a courtroom where Ava's DNA was both evidence and verdict, test tubes holding the power to either validate their family or destroy it completely. Carter stared at the genetic report like it was written in a foreign language. "This doesn't make sense. She has my eyes, my stubborn streak. Sometimes we see what we want to see," Dr. Chun said gently. "The markers are clear. There's no biological connection between you and Ava." Alana's mind raced backwards through time, trying to remember those crucial weeks before Carter left for California. The nights she'd cried herself to sleep. The rebound relationship with Marcus, her ex from high school. The confusion about dates because heartbreak had made everything blur together. "There was someone else," she whispered, the admission tasting like ash. "Right after you left. I was angry, hurt. I made a mistake." Carter's face went white. "Who?" "Marcus Thompson. We dated in high school. He came around when news got out about you leaving." Her voice broke. "It was only one night. I was trying to forget you. And you think he's Ava's father? I don't know. The timeline." She pressed her hands to her temples, trying to make sense of dates that had been meaningless until now. "It could be either of you." Carter stood abruptly, pacing the small lab like a caged animal. 2 years. I've spent 2 years believing she was mine, loving her like she was mine. She is yours. Alana's voice turned fierce. DNA doesn't change that. You've been her father for 2 years in every way that matters. Doesn't it change everything? He stopped pacing, amber eyes filled with confusion and pain. If she's not biologically mine, what does that make us? What does that make this whole situation? Ava played with medical toys in the corner, completely unaware that her world was shifting beneath her feet. She looked up at Carter and smiled, the same trusting expression she'd worn since the moment she met him. "Daddy's sad?" she asked with 2-year-old concern. The word hit Carter like a physical blow. He knelt beside her, voice thick with emotion. "No, sweetheart. Daddy's just thinking." "About what?" "About how much I love you." It was true. Whatever the DNA said, whatever confusion existed about biology, Carter loved Ava with the fierce protection of a father. But doubt was poison, and it was already working through his system. "We need to contact Marcus," Alana said quietly. "No." Carter's response was immediate, instinctive. "Not yet. Let me process this first. What makes someone a parent? Biology or choice? Love or genetics? How would you handle discovering your child might not be biologically yours? Share your thoughts below, because the truth about Ava's paternity was more complicated than anyone imagined. As the final paternity results printed, the genetic counselor's expression shifted from confusion to amazement. "I've never seen anything like this," she said. "Ava has genetic markers from both of you, but also from someone else entirely." The impossible was about to become possible in ways none of them expected. Some scientific impossibilities turn out to be family miracles in disguise. The geneticist's office transformed into a classroom where impossible became possible. Whiteboards covered with DNA diagrams that looked like abstract art spelling out the word miracle. "Genetic chimerism," Dr. Rodriguez explained, pointing to complex charts that made Alana's head spin. "It's incredibly rare, but Ava is carrying DNA from 2 different genetic sources." "What does that mean?" Carter asked, still reeling from the earlier revelations. "It means Ava's mother was originally pregnant with twins. One embryo was absorbed by the other very early in development, but the genetic material remained. So Ava carries DNA from both her biological self and her absorbed twin." The room went silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the sound of Ava humming while she played with blocks. "The absorbed twin had different paternal DNA," Dr. Rodriguez continued. "That's why the initial tests were confusing. Ava is biologically yours, Mr. Wells, but she also carries genetic material from another father." "Another father?" Alana's voice came out strangled. "The absorbed twin was fathered by someone else. Marcus Thompson, based on the genetic markers we found." The truth hit like lightning. During those confusing weeks after Carter left, when Alana had been heartbroken and reckless, she'd conceived twins by 2 different men. One Carter's, one Marcus's. Biology had made the choice for them, keeping Carter's child and absorbing the other. "So she's mine," Carter breathed, looking at Ava with wonder. "She's yours," Dr. Rodriguez confirmed. "The chimerism explains the unusual genetic markers, but the dominant DNA is definitely paternal match to you." Carter dropped to his knees beside Ava, pulling her into his arms with desperate relief. "You're my daughter. You're really my daughter." "I know, Daddy," Ava said simply, patting his cheek with tiny hands. "Why you crying?" "Happy tears, baby girl. Happy tears." Alana watched them together, her heart breaking and healing simultaneously. The love between them had never needed DNA confirmation, but having it felt like the universe finally aligning after years of chaos. "There's more," Dr. Rodriguez said gently. "The chimerism makes Ava genetically unique. She'll need special medical monitoring, but it also means she carries genetic advantages from both paternal lines. Enhanced immune system, increased intelligence markers. She's special," Carter whispered against Ava's hair. "She always was," Alana replied. "We just didn't know how special." As they left the hospital as a confirmed family, Carter carrying Ava while she chattered about ice cream and playgrounds, the weight of uncertainty finally lifted from Alana's shoulders. "When did you realize that chosen family can be stronger than biological family?" Share your stories of love that transcend genetics in the comments, because their private miracle was about to become public entertainment. As they walked toward the parking garage, camera flashes exploded around them. Reporters waited outside, shouting questions about secret families and DNA drama. Someone had leaked their story, and the headlines were already writing themselves. Tech billionaire's secret family and DNA drama in Atlanta. Their private journey was about to become public spectacle. Love stories are beautiful until they become headlines. Then everyone becomes a critic of your happiness. Camera flashes exploded like lightning as they walked from courthouse to car. Ava's small hand clutched between theirs while reporters shouted questions that reduced their love story to scandal and sensation. Is it true you hid his daughter for 2 years? How much money did he pay you to stay quiet? What about the DNA controversy? Carter's jaw tightened as he shielded Ava from the chaos, his free hand protective on Alana's back. They'd come to the courthouse to file restraining orders against Harrison's harassment, but someone had tipped off the media. No comment, Carter said firmly, but the reporters pressed closer. The headlines were already brutal. Gold digger's DNA gamble and billionaire's baby mama drama. Social media exploded with opinions from strangers who'd never met them, but felt qualified to judge their love story. Back at Alana's apartment, they watched the news coverage with growing horror. Her neighbors were being interviewed. Her co-workers at the diner shared opinions about her character. Even her high school teachers were giving statements about her relationship patterns. "This is insane," Alana muttered, scrolling through Twitter comments that called her everything from a genius manipulator to a desperate single mother. "It gets worse," Carter said, showing her his phone. "My board of directors called an emergency meeting. They want me to step down as CEO until this situation resolves itself." "Your company?" Stock prices dropped 15% overnight. Investors are nervous about the publicity. Ava played quietly in the corner, occasionally glancing at the adults with confusion. She didn't understand why strangers with cameras followed them or why Mama and Daddy looked so worried. "Maybe Harrison was right," Alana said quietly. "Maybe I'm destroying your life." "No." Carter's response was immediate, fierce. "They don't get to decide what my life looks like. We don't get to let them win." The next morning, Carter held a press conference outside the hospital where Alana's mother had died. With Alana and Ava beside him, he faced the cameras with the kind of confidence that had built empires. 2 years ago, I fell in love with an extraordinary woman. We were separated by circumstances beyond our control, but love found a way back. My daughter and her mother are not a scandal. They're my family." The reporters shouted questions, but Carter continued. "Anyone who has a problem with my personal choices can take it up with my lawyers. As for my company, I've built it from nothing once. I can do it again if necessary." "What about the racial dynamics?" a reporter called out. "What about them? Love doesn't see color. Family doesn't see bank accounts. And anyone who thinks they can intimidate us into hiding doesn't know us very well." How do you protect your love from people who want to tear it down? Have you ever had to defend your relationship to the world? Share your experiences below, because their public stand was about to face its biggest test. As the press conference ended, a reporter shouted one final question. "What about the other woman claiming to be pregnant with your child?" Carter's face went white. There was no other woman. Someone was lying. But why? When all else fails, desperate people create bigger lies to hide smaller truths. The courthouse steps became a stage for truth as cameras rolled and Harrison Wells watched his final manipulation crumble under the weight of evidence and family loyalty he'd never understood. The pregnant woman turned out to be an actress named Jessica Moore, hired by Harrison's private investigators to create one last scandal. But Maya had found the paper trail, bank transfers, acting contracts, even the fake medical records Harrison's people had created. "He paid me $50,000 to claim I was pregnant," Jessica confessed to reporters, her guilt finally outweighing her greed. "I was supposed to say Carter abandoned me, just like he abandoned his other baby mama. But none of it was true." Harrison stood at the edge of the crowd, his expensive suit and silver hair no longer commanding respect, but marking him as the architect of 2 years of misery. His face showed no remorse. only the cold calculation of a man who'd lost a chess game he'd been playing for decades. "You underestimated us," Alana told him as reporters recorded every word. "You thought love could be bought or manipulated. You were wrong. I was protecting our family name," Harrison replied stiffly. "Your family name?" Carter corrected. "I choose my own family now." Maya stepped forward, hands shaking as she faced the father who'd given her away, adopted her back, then used her as a weapon against her own sister. "I'm testifying against you," she announced. "Everything. The blocked messages, the bribes, the harassment. All of it." Harrison's mask finally cracked. "You ungrateful." "I'm choosing family over money," Maya interrupted. "Real family. The kind that doesn't come with conditions and contracts." The legal battle that followed was swift and decisive. Restraining orders, defamation settlements, and criminal charges for harassment. Harrison's empire, built on control and manipulation, collapsed under the weight of his own schemes. The media attention shifted from scandal to inspiration. "Love wins" became the hashtag trending across social media. Other couples shared stories of overcoming family disapproval, racial barriers, class differences. Carter's company stock not only recovered, but reached record highs as investors celebrated his authenticity and courage. The board of directors, embarrassed by their knee-jerk reaction, begged him to stay. "I'll stay," Carter announced at the shareholders' meeting. "But I'm also starting a foundation focused on family reunification and genetic research. Because every family deserves the chance to find each other." Ava played at his feet during the board meeting, completely comfortable in Daddy's world of suits and spreadsheets. She'd already won over the hardest hearts with her smile and fearless curiosity. When has someone underestimated your strength? How did you prove them wrong? Share your victory stories below, because Carter's next move would make their triumph complete. As Harrison's car pulled away in defeat, Carter dropped to one knee on the courthouse steps while cameras rolled and crowds cheered. The ring in his hand caught sunlight like a promise made public. "Alana Davis," he said, his voice carrying across the courthouse plaza. "Will you marry me?" She'd spent years believing love was a luxury she couldn't afford, until the day someone offered her the only thing that truly mattered: choice. The courthouse steps transformed into an altar where justice and love intersected, reporters becoming accidental wedding guests as a tech billionaire proposed to a diner waitress while their daughter danced between them. "Yes," Alana whispered, but her voice carried across the plaza like a victory cry. The crowd erupted in cheers as Carter slipped the ring on her finger. Not the biggest diamond money could buy, but a simple band that matched her grandmother's wedding ring, which he'd somehow tracked down and had restored. "How did you?" "Maya helped," he admitted. "Turns out she's good at finding things when she uses her powers for good instead of evil." Maya stood at the edge of the crowd, tears streaming down her face. For the first time in years, she looked genuinely happy. Not the calculated smile she'd worn while managing everyone's lives, but real joy at seeing her sister choose love over fear. The wedding 3 months later combined Atlanta community traditions with California resources. Neither world dominated. Both worlds celebrated. The ceremony took place in the community center where Alana's mother used to volunteer, honoring the past while embracing the future. Ava walked down the aisle as Flower Girl, dropping petals that represented the path from broken family to chosen family. She wore a tiny version of Alana's dress and carried a sign that read, "Daddy, here comes Mama." "I'm not promising you perfection," Carter said during his vows, voice thick with emotion. "I'm promising you choice. Every day, I choose you, and I choose you," Alana replied, her voice steady and sure. "Not because I need you, but because I want you." The reception filled the community center with laughter, music, and the kind of joy that comes from love winning against impossible odds. Maya gave a toast that had everyone crying, apologizing publicly for her mistakes, and promising to be the sister and aunt she should have been from the beginning. 6 months later, Alana discovered she was pregnant again. This time, there was no confusion, no fear, no question about whether love was strong enough to build a family on. She placed Carter's hand on her growing belly, where life they created by choice, not chance, grew beneath her skin. "This is what happens," she whispered, "when love chooses itself." The foundation they established, the Viola Davis Center for Family Reunification, helped thousands of families navigate DNA discoveries, adoption searches, and the complicated process of finding each other after years of separation. What would you do if someone saw your worth before you believed in it yourself? Would you run? Or would you build something that lasts? Comment below with what you would have done in her shoes. Don't forget to like this video if this story touched your heart. Subscribe for more stories that make you feel and think, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. Remember, the most powerful love doesn't rescue you from your life. It recognizes the strength that's been there all along. Until next time, keep believing in love that chooses itself.